You found your way back to me. It's quiet here, isn't it? The kind of quiet that feels older than sound itself, as though the ruin listens too, and chooses silence as its prayer. The walls around us, crumbled though they are, still lean gently toward one another, like tired old friends who no longer need words. And just above where the roof once stood proud, the sky has spilled down a shaft of moonlight, soft and violet, landing right between us. Do you feel it? That faint silver warmth brushing your cheek like a blessing. The grass has grown in thick tufts along the cracks in the stone, and beneath my legs it's damp with dew but not cold. I find it grounding, like the earth remembers we are here, even if the world above forgets. It's strange how comforting that is, to be forgotten by the world, yet remembered by the earth. Lean back a bit, if you'd like. Let your spine rest against the wall. Feel how the moss gives way just slightly, like it's glad for your weight. I think these ruins were meant to be found by the weary, not the triumphant, nor the hurried, but by those of us who need the world to slow for a while. And tonight it has, for you, for me, for this fire, low and patient. Look at it flicker, my friend. No two flames move alike. They dance, yes, but not to impress. They dance because it's their nature, and the wind has given them room. I've watched them for a while now, and they seem to know their place better than I do. That little flame there, it flares when you shift your weight, as if it sees you. My sword lies beside me, as it always does, but I haven't touched it tonight. Not because I forgot, but because I don't need it. Not here, not now. It catches the firelight all the same, gleaming softly, as though proud of its rest. Even steel deserves stillness, don't you think? It has seen too much of tension, and so have I. You're safe here. You know, I hope you feel that, not just with your body, but deep in the chest, where the tightness likes to live. Let it loosen now. Let your shoulders fall. There is nothing you must carry tonight. The wind outside the arches is soft. It moves through the stone as though afraid to disturb us. There are no owls this evening. Not yet, but sometimes I think I can hear the grass itself sighing. Or perhaps it's my own breath echoing back at me through these halls. That's a comforting thought, that even the quiet answers you if you're still long enough to listen. I suppose I came here looking for nothing, truly. Not a quest, nor a secret, nor a sign, just a place to stop. And I found it, a broken castle long abandoned by names and banners, and yet it welcomes me, as it now welcomes you. Can you feel the weight slip off your chest yet? Dear soul, if not, give it time. The stones here are patient. The light knows how to hold us without demanding anything in return. We needn't hurry. Nothing here moves fast. Even the fire burns as if it has all night to decide where to go next. Let your hands fall open, if you can. Let your jaw slacken. Let your eyes rest, even if they stay open for a while. I will keep watch, not for danger, but for comfort. If a breeze turns cool, I'll feed the fire. If the light dims, I'll speak softly, so you don't forget you are not alone. We've both wandered far, I think, but right now none of that matters. The past is a shadow behind us, and the future does not yet know our names. All that exists is this circle of stone, this soft bed of moss, this quiet flame between us, and you, yes, you, my dear companion. I'm glad you're here. Let us rest. I do enjoy this place more with each breath I take, not for what it was, but for what it's become. The stillness, the waiting, the way it asks nothing of us but to simply remain. It feels right to speak of it now with you sitting close, and the fire licking gently at the stones between us. You see, this keep, or what remains of it, was not always so quiet. I can tell that much just by looking at the bones of it. The towers once reached high, I think, though they now slouch inward like tired shoulders. There's a dignity in their decay, don't you think? As though the walls themselves have chosen to lean rather than fall, to hold memory in shape instead of crumbling into the past completely. The arches, open to the night, let the wind pass through like breath. It doesn't howl, it sighs. Each stone has a story, though none of them rush to tell it. Moss has softened the edges where swords may once have struck. Ivy climbs steadily, patiently, not to conquer but to cradle. It traces the outlines of shattered windows and creeps down the broken spiral of a stair that leads nowhere now. And still, it grows. Over there, see how the moonlight pours through the roofless gap in the ceiling, as if the sky itself has bent down to rest a while with us. It falls in pale bands, soft lavender with a silver rim, and settles over the floor like a silken cloth. The grass beneath it seems to glow faintly, not with magic, but with gratitude. It's a rare thing to find moonlight that lingers. Here, it does. I've spent some time watching how the shadows move across these stones. They don't flee from the firelight. They merge with it, as though the orange and violet made a pact. Even opposites can learn to live together, if they're quiet enough. The fire crackles low, its voice barely louder than a whisper. It's content to burn without urgency, warming the few stones that still remember what it felt like to be a hearth. There's a ring of soot around it, old and uneven, perhaps from others who came before us, who needed rest and were given it. That's a comforting thought, isn't it? That rest is not new here. That peace has a lineage, even in ruin. Beyond the open arches, trees stand at ease. Tall, gentle things, their trunks dark with moisture and their branches soft with new leaves. They sway not with urgency, but with rhythm, a slow, swaying breath. I watch them the way one watches waves, not expecting change, but grateful for the constancy. A breeze moves through now and then, gentle as a sigh between words. When it passes, the leaves rustle like cloaks brushing stone. Not loud, just enough to remind you the world still breathes. Sometimes, if you listen closely, there, do you hear it? That quiet drip of water, far off, echoing from some forgotten corridor below. It never quickens, never stops. I wonder if it's rainwater, seeping through the upper stones, or the last offering of a spring that once served a full well. Either way, I welcome it. There's a comfort in things that keep going, even when unseen. Beneath us, the earth is soft. The moss here is thick and full of tiny stars, little pale flowers no bigger than a fingernail blooming between the blades of grass. I didn't notice them until I lay back once and looked close. That's the secret of this place. It doesn't reveal itself in grand gestures. It waits for you to be still enough to see it. You might miss everything if you only pass through. The ground is damp. Yes, but it doesn't chill. It holds its warmth well, as if the stones below still remember the heat of many days. There's a patch near the wall where the moss has grown, especially lush. I rest against it now. It yields just enough to cradle me. I wonder how many years it's taken to grow so thick. I wonder how many more it will have, long after I'm gone. Sometimes I look up, beyond the ruin's broken frame, and watch the stars settle into place. They always seem to know where they belong, unlike travelers, unlike me. But here, at least tonight, I feel as though I've found a pause in the journey, a resting page in the book, where no ink need be spilled. Just this. Even the air smells different here. It carries the scent of wet stone and earth, with a touch of ash from the fire, and underneath it all, the faint sweetness of crushed ivy, and the ghost of wood smoke that clings to the old stones like a memory. It's hard to say how long this place has stood. There are no dates carved into its bones, no names lingering on the walls. Whatever banners once hung here have long since become threadbare offerings to the wind. And yet, for all it has lost, it feels whole, not in the way of buildings, but in the way of souls, as if being broken has made it more complete. I think some places are made not for history, but for stillness, not for grand tales, but for quiet ones. This place is one such, chosen not by builders, but by time, chosen for those of us who need the world to soften for a while, for you, for me. Do you feel it, my friend? The hush that lives in the walls? The way the light and dark don't compete here, but lean into each other. You don't have to speak. Not now. Let the silence speak for you. Let the fire keep watch. Let the moon trace your outline in lavender light and know you are safe. You are welcome. Here, in this place the world forgot, the earth remembers. Let it hold you. Settle in close now, dear soul. The fire leans low and the stones are warm where I've sat, long enough to make an imprint. You see me as I am, not as I was in younger days when stories were sharper and steel never left my side. No, this night is not for tales of banners or boasts. It's for the truth of stillness, for the gentle grace of simply sitting with you. One knee bent, the other outstretched. I've found a position that lets the weight fall evenly. You'd think armor would chafe after so long, but tonight it feels more like a second skin, not a shell, but a memory made solid. I've unclasped one gauntlet, just one, and let it rest beside me in the moss. The skin beneath is rough and calloused, weathered by years of grip and weather and time, but it feels the breeze now, the cool air against the warmth of the fire. I rather like that contrast. My visor is still lowered, but I see through it well enough. The slits are narrow. Yes, but they focus the world. The flicker of the flame, the shadow your form casts against the stone, it's all so wonderfully simple through this quiet frame. And behind that visor, well, my eyes are soft now, not from sorrow, not even from exhaustion, though there is a weariness. It's the softness that comes from laying something down and knowing you needn't pick it up again for some time. I am tired in the bones, it's true, not the sort of tired that sleep alone can heal. No, this is a deeper quiet, a kind of stillness that fills the marrow and silences the noise of thought. It's not heavy, not burdensome. It's a rest earned slowly, step by step, choice by choice. A rest that says, you've done enough, you may sit. And so I sit. Not every night finds this kind of peace. Some search for it in victories, some in solitude, some never find it at all. But I have here with you, and perhaps that's all that needs to be said. My body carries the shape of the past, but my heart has found a still rhythm. No pounding, no surging, just a quiet pulse, steady as a drumbeat heard through stone. I've seen much. You might think that matters, that such seeing makes me wise or worthy, but I tell you plainly, none of it holds weight here. Not the banners, not the deeds, not the names etched in old iron. The world remembers such things for a while, then lets them go. It's the small warmth of moments like these that last longest, even when they go unnamed. There's an echo in me, faint, like a bell rung long ago. I hear it sometimes, in the stillness, not as a call, but as a reminder that I have lived, that I have loved, that I have rested, and that, more than anything, I have listened to the wind, to the stones, to the voice of a friend beside me. You're here now. That's what matters. The night does not demand a telling. The fire does not press for meaning. And I am simply glad for company. There's a kindness in being seen, not for what you've done, but for how you are now. Bent knee, unclasped hand, a slow breath shared. I haven't spoken much of my name lately, not because it's secret, but because it has grown quiet in me. It was once shouted across courts, carved into the hafts of spears, whispered behind tapestries. But names like armor are heaviest when worn too long. I prefer now to be known by presence alone, by the way I greet you, by the way I sit, by the warmth I offer, no more, no less. My armor bears scratches, yes, but none of them ache. They're old, familiar, like lines in a story I've read so many times. I know where the ink fades. Some might look at me and see the ruin of a warrior, but you, I think, you see the peace beneath the plates, the stillness beneath the steel. I've chosen this place not for safety, nor for strategy, but for how it welcomes quiet, how it lets a night lay down the weight of questions and simply be. And tonight, I welcome you into that stillness, into the moment between heartbeats, where nothing must be done and everything is allowed to be gentle. You don't have to speak, just stay. Let your presence be your answer. The moss is soft, the fire low, and I am glad beyond words that you've chosen to sit here with me beneath the open sky, in the arms of these kind old stones. You are not interrupting anything, my friend. You are completing it. Let the night settle around us. Let it wrap your shoulders the way a wool cloak might, rough in texture perhaps, but always warm at the edges. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts wander. I will keep you company quietly. There is no tale to chase, no deed to chase down, just this, the hush of a ruin, the pulse of the fire, and the simple truth of two souls sharing space. I am not who I was, and yet in this moment I am more myself than ever. And you are welcome here. The fire's low hum is steady now, a gentle rhythm like a heartbeat pressed against the stone. You feel it too, don't you, my friend? That hush that settles in when there's nothing left to chase. Tonight is not for battles nor for stories that rush toward endings. No. Tonight I'd like to tell you of a quieter kind of journey, one that asks for no map, only memory and a little courage of the softer sort. Before I came to rest here beside you, I passed through a place not far from this ruin, a little way past the trees that bow like old monks in prayer. There, nestled in the crook of two hills, stands the shell of what was once a chapel, stone bones and scattered beams. Its roof is gone mostly, taken by wind or time, but the archways remain, and so does the bell. It was tucked behind a fallen rafter, half covered in vine, its bronze dulled with years, not broken, just forgotten. But when I brushed the moss aside, the metal glinted faintly, as if it remembered being heard. I didn't think much of it, not at first, only that it was still intact, and so I lifted the small clapper inside and let it fall. Just once. The sound wasn't loud, It didn't ring like the bells in cities do, summoning all with their urgency. No, this was a smaller sound, round, hollow, carried on the wind like a whisper that wasn't meant to return. I stood for a while listening. No answer came, no birds flew, no spirits stirred, just silence again. But something shifted inside me. Not in a way I could name, more like the stirring of a leaf when there's no breeze. As if that single note had brushed against an old part of me that had gone long untouched. A memory came then, soft as a breath. It was a voice. One I hadn't heard in years, and not in the way you might expect. Not like a dream, not like a tale retold, just the feeling of it. A warmth behind words. I couldn't recall what was said. Only the weight of the moment when I last heard it, a time when I was younger, not in age perhaps, but in spirit, less worn, less folded in, more open to the world, and to wonder. I stayed by the chapel a while, resting my hand on the bell's rim. I didn't ring it again, once was enough. It wasn't the kind of sound meant to be repeated. It felt sacred, in a small, personal way, like lighting a candle not for spectacle but to remember, or to ask gently, "Are you still there?" Since then I've been carrying that moment, not as a burden but as one carries a note tucked in a sleeve, not always visible but close to the skin. And now, here by the fire with you beside me and the night wrapped gently around our shoulders, I find myself listening still. Not for an answer, but for presence. That's the quest I find myself on now. Not for glory or even clarity, but for something far softer, the hum of something meaningful in stillness, a whisper that says, yes, even now, even here, you are not alone. It's a strange thing, isn't it, my friend, to search not for truths, but for echoes, to hope not for revelation, but for a kind of silent company. I don't think the chapel answered me, but I don't think it had to. Perhaps it was never meant to speak back, only to reflect, to remind me that memory is not a straight road, but a quiet room you revisit when the door creaks open. And tonight, I've stepped into that room once more. As I sit here now, my hand resting on the stone beside me, I can almost feel the bell's cold curve beneath my palm again. It wasn't just a relic, it was a keeper of silence, of waiting, of all the things said into air with no reply, yet still worth saying. That's why I rang it. Not to summon, but to honor, not to wake something lost, but to remind myself that it once lived, and in some way still does. You see, not every quest requires a sword. Not every path is paved with miles. Some journeys are only a few breaths long, unfolding in the space between one moment and the next. And sometimes the most honest thing we can do is sit with what we do not understand and keep it company. This ruin, this fire, this night, it all feels like part of the same gentle road, a road that leads nowhere in particular and everywhere that matters. And here you are, walking it beside me, or rather pausing with me on its mossy edge. That's all I seek now, truly. Not destination, not triumph, but stillness with meaning, a place to place the memory gently down, without letting it disappear, a quietness that holds rather than erases. I wonder, my friend, have you ever felt that pull, that soft ache towards something not quite lost, yet no longer fully near, a face remembered only in warmth, not detail, a song without its words, a place that you recognize not from sight, but from the way it settles behind your ribs when you breathe? That's what the bell gave me. Not answers, not names, but a feeling, a trace, and that's enough. Now, as the fire crackles and the stone cools under the stars, I hold that memory gently in my chest. I let it warm the hollow places without filling them. I let it drift. I let it stay. To sail with you, not as a lesson, but as a lantern, a small one. Its light is dim but steady, and it's yours now too, if you wish to carry it. We need not speak more of it. The quest has no steps to follow, only moments like this. Breath shared in quiet, flame reflected in eyes, the soft weight of knowing something once mattered and still does. So let us rest here, in the quiet that answers nothing and somehow says everything. The bell will not ring again tonight, but its note lingers, and so do we. You're still with me. That comforts me more than I can express. This firelight draws long shadows on the stone, and your presence, your stillness, draws warmth even where the wind moves through broken walls. We've no need for grand tales tonight, dear companion. Only small things, quiet things, the kind that ask to be seen, not solved. I've been resting here for some time now, long enough that the moss beneath me has left its gentle pattern on the cloth behind my knee, long enough that the flame has settled into a rhythm, and the night no longer feels like something to wait through, only something to share. And as I sit, I've found that I notice more. The world speaks in small gestures, if you let it. Just there, behind that fallen column, the ivy has grown thick, climbing in gentle spirals up the cracked stone. Not wild, not tangled. It feels purposeful, as though it knows this ruin is not a wound, but a resting place. Its leaves are a dark velvet green, with edges like stitched thread, and when the wind passes through, they shiver, not out of fear, but as though remembering laughter. So I've watched that same ivy reach across the broken rim of a shield, half buried in the ground not far from the wall. There's a dent in the metal, shallow, wide, long forgotten, and inside that dent, tiny white mushrooms have grown. Delicate things, no taller than a finger's width, pale as bone, round-topped like tiny bells. I knelt once, just to look at them. They didn't flinch. They just stood there as if to say, even in the hollow left by violence, something soft may bloom. I've seen a moth land on my gauntlet too, just here, where the leather creases at the wrist. It was pale, with wings like torn parchment, and it stayed for longer than I expected. I dared not move. It fluttered its wings once, twice, and then settled. I watched the way it breathed, tiny pulses, almost invisible, and when it finally lifted off, it didn't fly away in haste. It rose slowly, drifting up into the violet dark like ash, like thought, like a memory returning to sky. I remember another time, not long ago, when a pair of deer wandered through the chapel nearby. I was sitting on the stone steps then, my sword across my lap but ungripped, my helm resting beside me. The deer moved without fear, their hooves silent on the grass-covered stone. One of them paused, turned its head slightly, and looked at me. Not startled, just aware. We shared a moment that didn't need a name, a moment where neither of us needed to change or explain. I blinked, and when I looked again, they were gone, as if they'd stepped out of the world entirely. There's a woman I once met, long ago in a field that had once been a battleground. She wasn't there to mourn. She was there to plant lavender. She walked among the broken spears and bent blades, and with a small hand shovel pressed roots into the earth. She said nothing to me when I passed, just nodded once and kept tending to her rose. I never learned her name, but the scent of lavender in dry wind now always brings her to mind, a reminder that softness is a choice, even where hardness once ruled. And then there's the memory of singing, a strange thing for a night perhaps, but there was a night many seasons ago when I found myself alone on a low hill, with nothing around me but wind and stars. The fire was out, and I had no duties left to see to. My voice, it simply rose, not with lyrics, not with purpose, just a hum at first, a note carried into the air like a stone into water, and then another and another. The stars above did not answer, but they listened, I think. I could feel it. They listened without judgment, and when my voice fell quiet again, I felt something shift in me, a gentleness, as though my soul had stretched its limbs after a long sleep. It's these moments I treasure most now, not the marches, not the victories, but the times when the world stood still, and I was still enough to notice, like the way moonlight settles into the cracks of stone, never in haste, but always certain, or the way a spiderweb shimmers when caught between two broken arrow shafts. Even the fire before us has its own discoveries, the way it curls around a log before consuming it, the way embers pulse like slow breathing, glowing with quiet persistence. Sometimes a small pop will break the silence, and I find myself smiling, as if the fire has remembered something funny and couldn't keep it in. There was a beetle once, blue and black, its shell like glass, that crawled across the rim of my helm. I watched its journey with quiet awe. It moved with such focus, such intent, and when it reached the top, it paused there for a long while, as though proud, as though the climb itself had been enough. I think, perhaps, everything I've seen, everything I've known, has led me not toward answers, but toward noticing, toward presence, toward understanding that the world will reveal itself in whispers, not declarations. Like the way a dandelion grows between paving stones, or the way a crow will sometimes leave a feather beside your path and fly on, as though giving you something of itself, or the moment the morning light first touches the edge of a cracked shield and makes it shine again just for a breath. These are not tales for scrolls or song. They are too small, too quiet, but they are what I carry now, not as burdens, as blessings, and I share them with you, not to teach but to offer, like a smooth stone found by a stream. You needn't take it, only hold it a moment. Feel its weight, its coolness, its place in the palm. You see, my friend, discovery isn't always about finding something new. Sometimes it's about finally seeing what's always been there. Sometimes it's about slowing down enough to hear the hush beneath the wind, the heartbeat beneath the quiet. Tonight, you and I have heard many things together, seen things others might walk past, and in doing so, we've become part of the stillness, part of the noticing, part of the gentle truth that nothing is too small to matter if it is met with presence. So let us rest now in the company of ivy and moths and mushrooms, of stars who've watched us all along. Let the quiet cradle you, and the flicker of firelight carry your breath. We've found so much here, not through seeking, but through simply being, and that, I believe, is the gentlest kind of discovery there is. Still with me, dear heart? Good. I was hoping you'd stay a little longer. The fire's grown quiet now, not fading, just resting, like we are. It glows more than it burns, and in that glow everything seems a little softer. The sharp edges blur. The stone beneath me feels gentler. Even the night air, cool as it is, wraps around us like a familiar cloak. I've been thinking, as one does in stillness, not about what's to come or what's been lost, but about the shape of things that last, about what remains when the shouts have faded and the dust has settled. This old keep, for instance, you'd think it was a relic, all ruin and crumbled grandeur, but when I look closer, it isn't just enduring, it's becoming. Stone does not vanish when it breaks. It changes shape, it softens, it leans into the moss and lets the ivy write new lines upon its surface. Even the pieces that fall away become something else. A ledge for a nesting bird, a cradle for a dandelion seed. What once stood proud now rests with quiet purpose. And I wonder, might we be the same? For so long I believed in forward motion, in earning one's breath through effort, in purpose forged in movement, a life shaped like a march, ever onward, ever tested. But lately, I've come to think, perhaps the greatest fulfillment is not found in the stride, but in the stillness after, when the path no longer asks anything of you, when you are allowed to simply exist, without proving. Does that sound strange? To think that peace might be the point all along. I used to think a life had to ring loudly to be worthy, that it had to echo in halls, or be sung from memory to memory. But now, as I sit beside this patient fire and feel the quiet settle into my chest, I think a quiet life can be just as noble, just as meaningful. A warm smile held between friends, a soft hand on weathered stone, a single night like this, shared with someone who chose to sit beside you and ask nothing more than your presence. Sometimes I look at the sword beside me and wonder who it belonged to first. Not its maker, no, but the first person to truly rest beside it, to set it down, not in preparation, but in surrender. I don't reach for it anymore. Not because I no longer can, but because I no longer need to. It rests beside me like a memory, not a weight, like a story that's already been told. And truth be told, I rather like this quiet chapter. I find myself thinking of old companions now, not in sorrow. Just remembrance. Their faces aren't sharp in my mind anymore, but the feeling of them remains. The sound of shared laughter echoing down a woodland path. The way one of them always hummed under their breath when they thought no one noticed. The way another would stop in the middle of a long march just to admire the way the light touched the river. We were all rushing towards something then. And now, looking back, I think the moments between mattered more than what we were chasing. Strange, isn't it? How the spaces between the noise are what echo loudest once all falls silent. There is a stillness in age that I never understood when I was younger. It isn't stagnation. It isn't defeat. It's clarity. A knowing that the world does not ask us to be constant motion. It only asks that we show up with open hands and listen, truly listen, to ourselves, to each other, to the way the wind folds through broken archways. Perhaps stillness is not the absence of purpose, but the culmination of it. I've seen banners fall and rise again under new colors. I've watched stone castles crumble and wooden ones stand strong. I've heard the same song sung for different kings, and through it all, what lasts are not the names or crowns, but the acts of quiet kindness, the moments where someone looked up and said, "You look tired. Sit with me," just like you did, just like we said doing now. I don't think peace is found by accident. I think it's chosen, gently, repeatedly. It's not a place you stumble into. It's a place you return to, again and again, until it becomes a home. And tonight, here beside this old fire, I feel as though I've come home, not to a house, not to a land, but to a way of being, a place inside where everything finally rests. And that sip's where you have found me. It means more than I can say, having you here, not as an audience, not as a squire or a scout or a voice to answer mine, just a soul beside mine, breathing, listening, being. Perhaps that's all any of us need. Not a quest, not a cause, just a hand to reach for, even in silence, especially in silence. There's a kind of grace in stillness, isn't there? It lets the mind soften, lets the heart remember it needn't prove its beat, lets the bones ease into the shape they've always longed for. The Sadu. I've come to believe that rest is not the end of purpose, but its fulfillment. The final note of a song played well, not loud, not triumphant, but true. A soft closing chord that leaves the room gentled by its presence. And you, my dear friend, are part of that chord. So let us sit and let the night wrap around us. Let the fire hum. Let the sword lie still. Let the stone remember that even things once built to stand forever may crumble, and in that crumbling may become more beautiful. For permanence is not found in what resists change, but in what welcomes it with grace. I am not who I once was, but I am more myself now than ever. And tonight, in this ruin of stone and hush, I have never felt more whole. Let us rest then, and let it be enough. The fire is low now, not fading. No, just softer, like it knows we've come to the part of the night where even flames begin to breathe slower. The stones around us are warm where the light touches them, and your presence here, still and near, brings its own kind of peace. I can feel the way my breath has settled, the rise and fall of it. Steady now, like the rhythm of a lullaby, hummed without tune. There's a quiet in me that didn't ask for permission. It arrived on its own gently, like fog over a meadow, not an ending. No, not that, but a kind of turning, a page slipping forward, not with urgency, but with ease, as though the story itself wished to rest. Tonight feels like that, like the hinge between chapters, not a goodbye, but a soft exhale between two long-held thoughts. And in that breath, I find I don't need much more, not meaning, not momentum, just this. The sword lies beside me, as it has for many nights, though I've not touched it since I sat down. It hasn't moved, and neither have I. There was a time I would have checked it, adjusted the hilt, kept it angled just so, out of habit, out of readiness. Now it lies flat, half buried in moss and memory. And it is enough. It is enough, I think, to be still. You feel it too, don't you? The way the air has cooled but not chilled. How the ruin, cracked, slumped, quiet, doesn't feel like a place of loss, but a cradle of waiting, as though it's not what's broken that defines it, but what it now holds. This warmth, this moment between breaths. Sometimes I wonder if stone remembers, not the details, not the sounds of battles or banners, but the way people once sat against it, the way backs leaned in fatigue, the way heads rested, the way tears and laughter and silence left their shapes upon the stone. I like to think this wall behind me remembers those who've paused here before, and now it remembers us too. There is something healing in the hush that's come, not the silence of absence, but the fullness of peace, a hush that holds, not empties, that allows the heart to quiet its questions, to loosen its grip, to simply be. If your shoulders feel heavy, let them fall. Let the moss beneath you catch the weight. If your thoughts still buzz, let them drift, like cinders rising from the fire up into the dark, where the stars wait without demand. If your breath feels shallow, breathe with me now, slow and full and easy. There's no need to rush. No one is counting. You are already enough, just as you are right here, resting beside me. I've seen the world when it runs, when it presses forward, always forward. But here we are outside of that current. The tide of time moves past us like a stream around a stone. Let it pass, let it flow, let yourself stay, just here, just now. Close your eyes if they wish to close, or let them rest half-lidded, watching the last curls of smoke slip toward the sky. Hear the fire murmur its soft secrets. Hear how even it begins to drowse. There's nothing left for it to burn that matters more than this moment. You may lie down if you'd like. The grass here is thick and cool, kissed by dew but not wet. It smells faintly of sage and ash, and the deep sweetness of living things at rest. The earth has shaped itself into a hollow where I think a back and head would fit just right. Let the old stones cradle you. Let the ground, so patient and quiet, carry what you no longer wish to hold. The ruin doesn't ask who you were, only that you stay a while. Let your limbs stretch as they wish, slow and easy. Let your hands fall open. Let your jaw slacken. Let your breath deepen like roots into soil. You don't need to explain your weariness here. It is understood. Even the fire knows it burns not to dazzle, but to warm. I won't speak of quests anymore. They don't belong in this part of the night. What does belong are soft things, the press of moss under your palm, the weight of a wool cloak gathered at your side, the way your breath mingles with the cool dark in slow rhythm, and the feeling deep, low, gentle, that you are being held, not just by the stone and the soil, but by time itself. Time that doesn't sit, demand, that doesn't sit, hurry, that says, rest, dear one, I am not leaving you behind. I've spoken much tonight, perhaps more than I meant to, but I don't regret a word. Not with you here, not in this place that feels more like home than anywhere with walls still standing. There is a kind of homecoming in rest, I think. Not a return to a place, but to a state of heart. A reminder that we do not need to be useful to be worthy. We do not need to strive to be seen. We do not need to move to be carried. So lie down now, my friend. Let the hush hold you. Let the stars above keep their silent watch. Let the wind hum through the stones like a lullaby too ancient to name. Let the fire sing its last low song. You are safe. You are known. You are deeply, gently welcome. And I will keep watch a little longer. Not because danger stalks, but because love lingers. Because even in rest we guard one another. In the smallest of ways. A presence. A breath. A shared silence. Let yourself be still. Let yourself be held. Let yourself be home. The fire has gone to embers now. Just the softest glow beneath a blanket of ash, like coals dreaming of their own warmth. And still, you remain. You did not need to come, you know. No call was sent, no horn blown, No summons issued, but still, you found your way to me, to this quiet place beneath broken stone and violet sky. That is a kind of love, a quiet love, the sort that asks nothing, yet gives everything simply by being here. Thank you for sitting beside me, for lending your stillness to mine, for letting the hush grow between us without needing to fill it. It has meant more than I could ever shape into words. You are safe now, dear friend. You are wrapped in a night that does not demand. You are held in the arms of this old ruin, which has forgotten the weight of war and remembered the art of gentleness. Let yourself settle. Let yourself drift. The moss beneath you cradles your form like memory. The stones behind you hum with stories too soft to speak aloud. And the wind, listen, it breathes through the open arches, like a lullaby, low and slow, curling around us both. That sound, that sighing hush, it is the only farewell you'll need tonight. Red. I won't ask you to sleep. I'll only tell you that rest is ready for you, that the world in all its quiet grace is keeping watch. The stars above, steady and ancient, have seen thousands rest here. Let them see you too. Let them mark your peace. No farewell, no parting word, only this. May your dreams be soft, may your breath be steady, and more you wake, when you do wake, with the calm of this night still nestled in your chest. Sleep well, my companion. Sleep deeply. Sleep, knowing that you are never truly alone.